Good morning and welcome to Mindful Movement with AARP Alabama. I'm your host for today, Tawana Wright. Not nearly as good as your host, Margie Curry. Folks, we want to remind you that AARP empowers people to choose how they live as they age. AARP is a nonpartisan 501c4 organization that has over 420,000 members in Alabama. AARP's role is to advocate for those 50 plus and their families. AARP is committed to making opportunities to stay active and engaged at home possible for you. The Mindful Movement series encourages people to stay active, stay moving, and stay engaged. This morning, we have with us our certified yoga instructor, Becca Impello, who has been teaching yoga for more than 20 years. Becca, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Tawana. It's nice to see you. And you're a good substitute for Margie. We all love Margie, but you're no shabby thing either. So I'm glad you're able to get us going this morning.
Technical difficulties will force action.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
Becca, what are we doing this morning?
Well, I thought today, Tawana, we would, sometimes I like to focus on a certain area of the body and kind of do a little extra. So I thought today we would focus on the hips. So we're going to do some good mobilizing of those hips, some strength work. I'm going to be giving you guys options and sort of a progression or a range of choices for a lot of those things. So don't worry if something seems like, oh, that's out of realm for my hip. I'm probably going to give you an option that you can at least try and work with. Okay.
Well, it sounds really good. Folks, we want to remind you that before beginning any exercise routine, you should consult your physician to make sure that it's okay for you to participate. Becca, without any further delay, let's get to it.
All right, let's get started. And I want to just add another little sort of layer to that, advisory to always check with your medical professionals about exercise to make sure you're doing stuff that's safe and appropriate for you. And I also want to encourage you to listen into your own self as well, right? So if anything that I ask you to try to do creates a pain in your body, especially anything that's sharp or stabbing, you're just going to skip or get creative, get curious, and do something a little different. See if you can find something that works for you, right? So the idea is to get some movement happening, right? We don't all have to make exactly the same movements, however. So we're going to start with our chair. We'll have our chair as our base today, and as we usually do. So sit tall, get your feet right on the floor, place those hands right down on your thighs, your lap, and sit up a little taller. Just start to draw up through the chest. Maybe pull those shoulders back a bit, draw all the way up through the crown of the head. And if you'd like, you can close your eyes because we're just going to take a couple of moments here to check in, to bring our attention inward and to work with our breathing a little bit. So closing the eyes might help you to just sense your body a little bit more. So as you close your eyes, I want you to drop your awareness, your attention down into your feet on the floor, whether you're in shoes or socks or barefoot, doesn't matter. Just feel the sensations on the bottoms of your toes and the soles of your feet. Feel the weight of your legs resting there on the ground. And then bring your awareness on up through the legs. Take note of the bend of your knees. Take note of the thighs, maybe the feeling of the chair at the back of the thigh. Take a moment to become aware of the seat, the groundedness that you might feel there in your pelvis and under your sitting bones as you sit in the chair, the weight of your body through that platform. And then again, take your awareness up slowly through the spine, up through the upper back and the shoulders, all the way up through the crown of the head. And then lift a hand and place one hand on the heart or the chest. Take the other hand and place it somewhere on the abdomen or the belly. And let's just take a couple of deeper breaths here, using those hands as a way to feel the breath movement in your body. You might have a little rise and fall or a little in and out here. And just see if you can accentuate that to the degree that feels comfortable. Breathing in a little bit deeper. Breathing out a little bit fuller. You might take that inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, or you could keep the inhale and exhale through the nose. 3 more breaths. All right, and then before we begin our movement, I want you to take a moment to set a certain attitude or intention towards your body, right? I want you to adopt an attitude of appreciation and curiosity, right? We want to leave aside judgment or criticism. We don't want to dwell on whether our body is, doing the movements well or having a hard time. You can notice that stuff, but keep an attitude of appreciation, appreciate your body for what it can do, and curiosity, wanting to learn from our practice today about your own body. All right, let's do a little bit of a warm up for the whole body. We'll start with some more breathing in the arms. So take the arms down to the sides, spread the fingers wide. You can make this movement as big or small as you like, but take an inhale breath and see if you can sweep the arms any amount up towards the ceiling, and then exhale and bring them back down. Big breath in, exhale, all the way out. A couple more times. 2 more. Last one. Good. Arms at your side. Give your head a nice easy turn right and left. You can gradually, take it further, finding perhaps the limits of your movement. All right, let's bring that head back to the center and do a little nodding motion. Down with the chin, up with the chin, up and down. All right, now roll those shoulders. This is one of my favorite all-time movements to slip into your day somewhere. So I'm almost always going to include a few shoulder rolls in our warm-up. But don't find yourself limited to doing some of these movements only when we're together on our program. You can sneak these into your day and it might be beneficial. All right, now let's do a little more side, body, and trunk movement. So you can sweep an arm up and over as you bend to the side. Another option is to bring your hand to your head and take it over to the side. You can also keep the arms down and continue to make the side-to-side movement if you want to, right? So we've got some choices there depending on how you want to use those arms and shoulders. All right, bring it back to center. Now, like I said, we're going to focus on our hips today as our, emphasis. So let's start with some warming up for the low back and the pelvis, which are connected to the hips. Let's roll back. So I'm rolling back onto my buttocks, onto the back of my sitting bones, and then rolling forward. So I'll put it into a little bit of an arch there and a little bit more of a rounded back when I shift towards the back of the chair. So you can make this movement bigger or smaller depending on what's right for you. But let's try to get the pelvis rocking, get some movement here. All right. Now, a little bit of marching to get us, blood flowing into those muscles around the hip. The hip flexors are the muscles that help us do this motion. Oftentimes we might hear or have been told that, those hip flexors are really tight, right? They get stiff, and we'll definitely do some stretching, but actually strengthening your hip flexors or any muscle really has been found and shown to be a good way to improve its overall mobility, right? So tight hips don't benefit just from stretching. They typically need other types of mobility and strength practices as well. All right, now let's try to take this up and out and then up and back in. All right, so just adding another dimension of movement, lifting up and over. Imagine that you're lifting that foot over a big box, right? So you want to get it as high as you can. Good. 4 more. 2 more. Up and out, up and in. All right. Good. So hopefully you feel a little warmth or a little, work effort there in those hip joints. Now let's loosen up the rest of the leg, because it's all connected, of course. Even though we're going to work on the hips today, we can't really isolate the hips from the rest of the body. We want to work with all of it. All right, so 3 more, kick and bend of the knee. Good, now leave that foot forward. You can put it down on the ground if you want, or you can leave the leg up, point and flex. Circle that ankle a couple times. And then release it. All right, let's do that same thing for the other leg. Kick and bend. Notice how that knee feels. Maybe put a hand on it. Maybe put your gaze on it. Helps the body and brain be more connected. Good, keep that foot forward or put it down on the ground to rest the weight of the leg for a moment. Point and flex. Make a circle. And go the other way. All right, now we're going to take those feet apart. So knees are open wide, right? And we're going to make a movement for the hips that's about rotation. So this thigh bone rotates in the hip socket. When I pick my foot up, it rotates the thigh out. All right, so we're going to do that one first. Picking one foot up in the middle. It's almost like you're trying to, lift that foot so you can see, maybe what you stepped in kind of thing. Imagine that you've got a desk or a table over the top of your thighs and try to avoid lifting your knees straight up or lifting your thighs straight up. Instead, try to get as much rotation as you can. Now, this is often a really small movement, okay? Mine might be bigger than yours, right? Some folks find that, trying to make the movement in this position, they can just barely get the foot off the ground. So if that's you, you're still getting benefit. You should still work with it. It's okay that your foot's not coming up very high. All right, let's do 4 more of these. 4, 3. This is some of the strengthening work that I mentioned. So we're having to call on these muscles. Now rest to do that work. Now I want you just to let your knees come together and then push them open. So just back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes I call this our Elvis dance move. So if you want to do your hands back and forth and channel your dancing from your younger years, you can. All right, that just mobilizes those hips. Now we're going to do a different motion. We're going to bring the knees together, have the feet a little bit apart, and we're going to try and rotate the other way. So I'm picking up my foot again, but I'm picking it up to the outside. Now I'm trying to, it's like I'm trying to glance at the pinky edge of the bottom of my shoe. All right, so I'm turning that thigh in or turning it sort of down towards the floor, the inner thigh. Again, you may find that, it's hard to get that foot off the ground any, right? Just do what you can, go in that direction, even if it's not moving much. You're getting your brain connected to your hips. You're asking those muscles to wake up and do something. So they're getting stimulated. They're getting challenged. Maintain an upright, tall posture. Got 4 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. So again, with the feet apart, knees together, do a little bit of that open and close. All right, now we're going to go ahead and stand up. You're going to see some poses here that are sort of just, from the traditional yoga library of poses, right? But they'll be effective at either lengthening one side of the hip and or strengthening or toning one side of the hip. So we'll use the chair if you want to. You can just have the chair as something to hold on to, okay? If you don't feel like you need to hold on for balance or stability, feel free to let go entirely. All right, so let's step back with one leg. So we're in a lunge type stance or a warrior type stance. All right, you can take that lunge longer or shorter depending on what feels safe and right for your body, right? I've got about a medium stance, okay? And so we're going to do some bending and straightening of that front leg. So bend into that front knee and then straighten. Now, if your knee comfortably goes, kind of over your foot or towards your toes, that's perfectly okay. If it doesn't feel bad to your knee, if it doesn't bother your ankle, you can take that movement a little further, or if you don't like the way that feels, either stop that motion or step a little longer. All right, now stay in that lunge. Squeeze that back glute. If you have those arms free, it could be one arm or both arms can reach up. Now I want you to think about drawing down with your back body, with your lower back, with your buttock, all right, and lift up through your front body like you're trying to lift your belly button, lift your pubic bone, lift your chest and your arms. One more breath here. Hands come down. They can come to the chair if it's there. They can come to your hips. Straighten that front knee, all right? If you need to make your stance shorter, you can. And now we're going to bend forward over that front leg. We're taking it just until we feel some stretches. If you have the chair in front of you, that's a nice place to rest your hands. Some folks are going to be able to go quite further down, right? So if you're not feeling much of a stretch, you may be someone that could bend further forward. Maybe even taking your hands down to your leg or your fingertips to the floor. All right, now let's come up and step in and switch sides. So taking our warrior stance, our lunge position with the other leg forward. You decide how long you want that stance to be. And again, we're going to do some movement back and forth. Check in with how your body's responding. Remember, we're adopting that attitude of appreciation and curiosity. So if you notice something that's just, not working well, be curious about that. Don't be critical of your body. Just be curious. All right, let's stay in that lunge. Let's anchor the legs a little bit more, especially that back leg. Draw that buttock down. Make sure it's squeezing. Lift up from the belly. Here's where you can raise the arms if you want, one arm or both arms. Lift up from that low belly. Up through the chest, up through the arms. All right. And then the arms can come to the chair or to the hips. Straighten that front knee and let's fold it forward. So we're leaning forward with a straight leg until there's some stretch felt in the back of that leg that's in the front here. You could rest on the chair. Hands could be on your hips or your thigh. Or like I showed a moment ago, maybe you're coming down closer to the floor if the flexibility is there for your hamstrings. 2 more breaths here. All right, and then come on back up and step in. Now, the next couple that we're going to do involve standing on one leg, so I'm going to recommend that you hold on. You hold on to the chair with one hand or both, or maybe you hold on to the wall if it's nearby. You hold on to something sturdy for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to stand on one leg, pick up that other foot, and I'm making a circle with my thigh, right? So I'm bringing it up, taking it out, and then I'm trying to turn it back behind and then bring it back into the front, right? So I'm trying not to turn my body, right? So I'm facing my chair. I'm facing sideways to the camera, and I'm trying to keep my body that position, not let it follow my leg out to the side. 3 more circles. You're just making whatever movement you can get out of your hip. Be curious, be appreciative. Last 2. Last 1. All right, shake that out. You're going to switch legs. All right, so get where you can hold on as needed. Now I'm going to turn myself all the way around because I'm too close to my wall over here. All right, so I'm switching to that other leg. Circle it around and back and under. Bring it up. Circle it around and back. So we're making a slow, deliberate circle. So the idea here is that we're mobilizing, but we're using our muscle action to do so. It's not passive. All right, 3 more. You may notice that your standing leg's getting a good strength workout when we do this as well, because it's having to, take all the weight of our body and hold steady while we make this movement. All right, take that leg down, give it a little shake out. All right, now we're gonna use the chair for this next one. And what you might do is stand so that you can hold on to the chair and you can bring one foot up into the seat. Now, if lifting your foot up this high is not great for your hip or your body, right, then you may choose to do this from the foot on the floor in front of you, right? So we're going to be doing some lifts. So your foot could be on the floor in front of you as you hold on to something. The foot could be on the chair, right up in the seat of the chair. Or if you have something convenient in between the two, like a box, a yoga block, something like that, you could put your foot on that. All right, now the work here is, again, for those hip flexors, we're trying to lift and hold a second. So you're lifting just as high as you can lift from your position, and then put it back down. Lift. If you want to work on your balance too, you can let go and see what that's like. Lift. Lower. 3 more. Lift. And lower. Lift. I think 1 more. Sometimes I have trouble counting to 3, believe it or not. All right, now we want to switch legs. So again, you might be choosing a lower position. So if lifting your foot all the way up into the chair doesn't feel like the right place, you might do it from the foot on the floor or, something in between. All right, and then again, we're lifting, trying to keep the body, the spine nice and straight. Good opportunity to work on balance if it makes sense to do so. Maybe for you, working on balance is touching but with one finger versus letting go. Three more lifts. All right, good. Now take it down. Whew, okay, good. That gave us some toning, some strengthening right there in the front hip. Now we're going to do 1, maybe 2 more things standing, and then we'll sit down for some stretches that we can do from the chair. Now, we've done a lot of different directions with our movements for the hip. We're going to do this next one to the back to work on extension or those glutes. All right, so again, hold on as needed. We'll be alternating from one foot to the other, and you can hold on if you want to. I'm going to squeeze back. Just get a little squeeze of that glute, and then bend my knee, so my heel comes up, and then take it all the way down. Shift the weight, squeeze back, straight leg, bend the knee. I'm going to hold a couple seconds in each position, and then take it all the way down. Shift the weight, squeeze back, straight leg, glute, bend the knee, and down, straight back squeeze, bend the knee, and down. 1 more on each side. Straight back squeeze, bend the knee, and down, squeeze, bend, and down. Now, while we're still up, let's try it. Hands on the top of the chair, press back, stretching back into those hips. You may want to do a little knee shift, 1 knee bent and 1 knee straight. All right, now before we sit all the way down, try and face the seat of your chair for a moment. So walk around, get to the front, put those hands down in the seat of the chair. This is similar to what we just did, but we should have a little more emphasis on the hips here. So I'm going to bend 1 knee, straighten the other, and I'm pushing sort of back and out into that hip. And then I'll go the other way. And feel free, like I mentioned earlier, to be creative, right? If it seems like some, additional movement or shift would give you a nice stretch somewhere, then feel free to do that. All right. Now we're ready to sit down. We've got two more main stretches that we're going to do. One for the hip flexor, one for the glutes and the piriformis. So the first one for the hip flexor involves turning to the side in your chair. You can hold on to the back. You're going to be half on, half off, right? So that front leg, front hip is, essentially hanging off. And I'm going to see if I can position my leg so that the knee points roughly down and that foot is directly behind me. Now the foot can be top of the foot down, or it could be toes curled under. Or if you're in tennis shoes or something, you could just prop on your toe. All right. Now, maybe, this is where some differences will come in. Some people might want to work their foot further back. Okay, that's going to put more of an angle here on that front thigh, bigger stretch. Some folks are going to find, nope, that's way too much. It might even be that your knee is slightly forward of your hip. And if that's giving you some stretch, then that's great. All right, so now we squeeze that glute on the front leg, lift up through the belly, maybe add a stretch up through the arm. And let's even take it to a little side stretch. Lean towards the back of the chair. Good. One more breath here. And then bring it back up. Turn back to the front. Now that leg that you were just stretching, right? For me, it was my right leg. It doesn't really matter which one it is. Now we're going to bring that same leg and see if we can help it cross over to our knee or our thigh. But that cross may be a little too high for some hips. So feel free to cross it below the knee on the shin, or cross it on the ankle, or if you have, that box or something, you could put your foot on that. That's another way to use, just a household item. All right, and then wherever it is that you crossed, you're sitting up tall, and you're going to see if there's any room to lean into it. You might even do a gentle pulsing or rocking. You're looking for the sensation in that outer hip and the buttock, perhaps, sometimes around the inner thigh. The only thing we don't want to feel here particularly is any strain at the knee, right? So if you've crossed that leg to a position that's really, not too far for your hip, you may feel some strain or pressure at your knee. So we want to avoid that. Let's take just 2 or 3 more breaths, holding steady. You're just finding your lean, your kind of entry into the stretch, and holding there. Take that deep, full breath. One more. All right, and then you can lean back, help your leg back down. Let's take it to the other side. We're going to stretch that other leg through both of those stretches. First one for the front of the hip. All right, so position yourself with that sort of kneeling lunge look, right? So it looks like we're, kind of in a kneeling position with one foot forward. You can adjust that foot further back or closer. Squeeze that buttock down, lift up through the belly, maybe add that reach of the arm. And you can also add a little side bend leaning towards the back of the chair. And then let's release it. Come back around to the front. We're doing that same leg that we were just working on. You cross over to the other leg, maybe below the knee, maybe above the knee, maybe on some sort of support that you're using. All right, sit tall through the spine. Give it a little exploration, a little gentle rock forward and back. All right, and then let's hold for a couple of those deep breaths. All right, release it. And just settle back into your chair. We're just going to close up our practice. We're right here, kind of almost at our time limit, but I want you just to take a moment. You might place hand on the heart and the belly again, or you can keep the hands resting on the thighs, or even right there at the hips. Just take a few moments again, just to remember what I suggested about adopting an intention or an attitude of appreciation for your body. Did you appreciate your body during this practice? Was there something that maybe you could, appreciate that you learned about? How about that curiosity? What did you learn about your body today? What did you learn about these movements? Was there a right and left difference, perhaps, that you noticed? Let's just take about 3 more breaths here. I encourage you to keep those attitudes with you throughout the rest of your day, approaching your body and whatever its function or difficulties may be, to just keep coming back to appreciation and curiosity. All right, so you can let those hands drop if you want, or bring them to a gesture of gratitude with the palms together. Thank you so much for joining us, as always, with AARP of Alabama. I'm happy to bring you this mindful movement on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. We hope you'll join us next week as well.
Hey, thanks, Becca. Fabulous session. Getting us ready for gardening. And thank you for reminding us to always keep that positive attitude.
That's
we
right.
enjoyed it. We hope to see everybody next week. Remember, mindful movement on Tuesdays, AARP Alabama. Thanks. Bye. Have a great week.
Bye, Margie.
Bye.